Today's project is going to be to make new base pins for Mary's smoke wagons. I'll take out the factory pin and show you what it looks like. The pin has two grooves cut all the way around, and one groove is to push it all the way back so it blocks the hammer. For people to understand how to operate a Colt single action or a clone of the Colt single action, loading 5 and putting the hammer down on an empty chamber, this feature is not only not necessary, it also promotes the idea that the pin can jump forward and bind up the gun, or it can be inadvertently pushed all the way back when you didn't intend to and put it on the safety mode. For this project I'm going to use a pair of knurled brass nuts I got from Ace Hardware for about 50 cents a piece. Also got a 4-foot length of 1/4-inch drill rod for about $6. That should make more than a dozen of these pins. It's really hard. I ended up having to anneal the ends of where I machined them and threaded them. The diameter of the factory pin is 248 and the drill rod is 250, so there's very little polish off. I wasn't sure of the tap size, but I ran an 832 tap in it and it ran through easily. I turned it down to about a 160 diameter to thread the 832 threads onto it, just to test for fit. I used a coarser sandpaper to start with and then get progressively finer till I polished it down and then tested into the gun to make sure it would slide from front to back of the frame. Then I used a polishing compound to lap the bushing onto the pin, but here I'm using a pin that I'd made a few years back to mark where to cut it to length. I departed how I used to make them by using a file to recontour the outer shape of it to more like a little drawer pull. It's necessary to cut a radius on the bottom side to clear the curvature of the barrel because these are bigger diameter than the existing one. The little flat is to clear the ejector rod housing. I test in the gun to make sure it functions right, and I have to twink it a couple of times to get it to where it clears. Here I'm laying out the location for the latch notch. It has to be 180 degrees from where it fits to the barrel. Here's a close-up showing the facets that I ground on the top side of the pin to clear the barrel and the ejector rod, and a little 20,000 deep slot that I cut on the bottom side to facilitate using a screwdriver or something similar to pry the pin out if it becomes really stuck. I cleaned up the threads and then used Loctite 638 to keep them in place. Now you have a gun that operates like a Colt intended to, got a nice custom touch. Can't be pushed back onto safety. There's no safety notch. The notch is transfer cut across so it's much more secure and won't jump forward. The larger knob makes it a little easier to pull out and adds a little bit of a custom touch to the gun. Keep the old pin so if you ever sell or trade the gun you can restore it back to what factory condition.